Say what?
What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, bringing you another episode of Say What, where we talk about all the musical happenings in the world right now and kind of question them a little bit. This is going to be a great episode because Rolling Stone magazine just released last week the top 500 albums of all time. They re-released this basically, started from scratch with all new voters this time. Kind of their goal was to get more inclusive of different cultures, different kinds of music, and I think that for the most part, they definitely succeeded in that. The original top 500 albums list in 2003 featured a lot more of the classics that people know, not as much of the newer stuff, not as much hip hop, for example, which I'm just going to go ahead and say all the positive things up front. I found this new list really cool as far as how diverse it was. It was great to see artists like A Tribe Called Quest and Public Enemy, in the top 50. A lot more diversity there, a lot more female artists. The Beatles didn't dominate every single slot in the top 50 like they did before. More spaced out there. If I remember correctly, the previous list had, I think Sgt. Pepper was number one, and I've always felt that's one of their most overrated records, actually. So I was really happy to see my favorite Beatles album, Abbey Road, as the highest ranked Beatles record at number 5. That was really cool to see on the list. Really, the whole top 5 of the new list was actually really cool. Because number 4, Songs in the Key of Life, another one of my favorites. As you know, Joni Mitchell's Blue at number 3, while maybe a little high, it's one of the best records ever made and definitely one of the best folk rock records. And I thought it was really great to see it that high on the list. And then you had Pet Sounds at number 2, which I think was about that high last time. That one to me, I think, kind of like Sgt. Pepper, is a little bit on the overrated side. But what are you going to do? But number 1, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, although it's not one of my favorite albums of all time, I definitely think it's deserving of the number 1 spot. So that was really cool. When you really look back at it, it has some of Marvin Gaye's best songs, the title track, of course, Mercy, Mercy Me, and it was kind of a concept album at the time, just really ahead of its time, especially for a Motown record. So it was really cool to see that get the top spot as opposed to, what we're used to, the Beatles or Bob Dylan or the Rolling Stones. So all that being said, there was a lot of good to come from it. And of course, it's always good and fun to see these lists that other people make that we can then compare to and see what do we like, what don't we like about it. So now I'm going to tell you what I wasn't crazy about with the list. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? With some of the new things coming on that I think were cool, but also, as much as I do like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West, as a matter of fact, I don't think it should be ranked above Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, for example, or Led Zeppelin 4, which both of those records didn't even make the top 50, which is just insane to me. So that's my first major gripe. The second is the 3 records that you see directly behind me. I placed them there for a reason. Of course, this is my wall of perfect albums. Lately, I've been interchanging them out a little bit depending on what I've been talking about. But these 3 records directly behind me, in my mind, are all perfect 10 out of 10 albums. And fact check me on this in case I'm wrong, but I scrolled through the entire list and none of these 3 albums were to be found. My other 12, I have 15 albums that I rank a 10 out of 10. I've done reviews for all of them on my channel. You can check out on the homepage. But all the other 12 are represented somewhere on the top 500, but these 3 did not even make the 500 list, which is What? So we're going to start with this one right here, Band of Gypsies by Jimi Hendrix. Now, all of his studio albums are represented on the top 500. Great. But this is, in my mind, the best live album ever made. I mean, just the fact that it's all new material on this record, and the stuff that he did with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles as Band of Gypsies, and the way it's performed will just melt your brain. It's that good. I mean, Machine Gun, Who Knows, Changes, Message to Love, Power of Love, everything on this record is incredible, and somehow it's not on the top 500 this time. I think, by the way, that these three records were on the old top 500, but they got knocked down somehow, and it's just sad. So the next one is the one directly behind me, Tumbleweed Connection by Elton John. Again, Elton John had several albums on the list. Of course, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Hunky Chateau, and I think his debut album was on there as well. I'm not 100% sure, but Tumbleweed Connection was not. And this, to me, is his best record. He and Bernie Taupin just made a masterpiece on here. It's their ode to Americana, and specifically the band. And I felt that they actually took what the band was doing in the late 60s, early 70s, and made it even better on this record. It's just a beautiful, gorgeously produced, and there's no fat on here. I think because it didn't have as many hit singles as other albums, it's often overlooked, even by Elton John fans. But for me, just an incredible album and should have been on the list. And then last but not least, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, their debut album from 1965. Those who know me know that this is actually my favorite album of all time. And a big part of the reason for that is because the blues is my favorite genre of music. I feel like every other form of popular music today, be it rock, be it hip hop, soul, R&B, you name it, blues, if not for blues, none of those would even exist. Blues is like the blueprint of all great music. And I had always been on a quest to find like the perfect blues album for many years. And, you know, there's a lot of great ones out there from like Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, and so forth, but none of them were like perfect front to back, like an Abbey Road of blues albums. And finally, when I found this album, which I think, by the way, it was on a Rolling Stone list. I don't think it was the last top 500 list. I think it was some other list. But when I came across this record and read about it, I was like, I got to check it out. And man, my mind was blown how good this is. I mean, Paul Butterfield on vocals and the harp is a great leader of the band, but Mike Bloomfield on lead guitar is just amazing. And I'm like, how did I not know about this guy or this band? And then the fact that it's really one of the first multicultural bands, even before Sly and the Family Stone, technically, during the Civil Rights Movement. And they made this music that's just so explosive and great. It just makes it that much better. And so, again, amazingly, not on the new top 500. So, now that I've gotten all that out of the way, that's really all I really wanted to harp on this Say What episode. But I feel like we need to take this a step further. You know, there's a lot of you here on Joni Radio that comment regularly, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys watching the channel. I feel like if we put our heads together and some lists together, we can make a list maybe even that rivals the Rolling Stone Top 500. I'm thinking not to go that many, maybe a top 100 when we cumulatively put our list together. But if you're so bold and you would like to be a part of this, leave in the comments below your top 25 albums of all time, ranked in order, if you feel like you can do it. If you're not up to 25, just leave me a top 10. I will count those as well. But I feel like, you know, we've got kind of a movement here growing and a lot of people with great taste in music. So if you want your list to be heard, and trust me, I'm not going to have as many people as Rolling Stone vote on this, so you'll probably get some picks in there for sure. I've already reached out to some people that I know personally, and I may even actually include Rolling Stone's top 25 of the top 500 as one list to add into the mix, just to give it some more relevance and see where we end up. I think it could be really cool. Over the next few weeks, I'll be putting these lists together. And then what I may do, if we get a top 100 that looks pretty good, I may do over like a 10-week period, 10 albums at a time, list them out and let you know what they are, counting down to number one through the end of the year. If I don't get a good top 100, I may just do a top 50, but we'll see based on the results. Again, I'm reaching out to you guys, so let me know in the comments below. Again, if you can't do a 25, do a top 10. Would love to see all your favorites and see what we got. So let's see, guys. And thank you guys for watching. We got so much more. As you know, top fives every Friday, album reviews, so much more. And as always, Viva la vinyl. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you can always see great quality content like you're seeing on the screen right now. Thank you so much for supporting Joni Radio, and I'll see you soon.